Did you ever thought about what's one of the biggest budget surprises on a project happens before construction even begins? No? I tell you. We from H Design and Build think when an HVAC contract is awarded before the system is fully defined. The field reality is every general contractor wants a reliable number before signing a subcontract. But with HVAC, that's often impossible. The construction documents may be complete enough to bid, yet many of the decisions that determine the real cost of installation haven't been made. Routing is still based on assumptions. Equipment coordination hasn't been validated. Installation constraints are unknown. Access requirements haven't been checked, and scope gaps remain hidden between the design drawings and what the field will actually require. The subcontractor gets awarded anyway, not because the scope is fully defined, but because the project needs to move forward. That's where budget risk enters the project. Why this costs you money? When subcontractors don't have a clearly defined scope, they have only two choices. They either include variable pricing or they leave uncertainty out of their proposal. Neither option benefits to the general contractor. If variable is included, the project pays more than necessary. If it isn't, the missing scope comes back later as RFIs, change orders, or additional labor. The contract value may look fixed, but the HVAC scope isn't. And that's why budget surprise appears months after the subcontractor was signed. The outcome? The goal isn't simply to receive competitive HVAC bids. The goal is to award a contract knowing exactly what is included, what has been validated, and what can actually be built. A predictable budget starts with a predictable scope. The first problem here, the undefined scope, creates pricing assumptions. Many HVAC bids are based on the design intent rather than implementation reality. The subcontractor has to make assumptions about routing, coordination, access, supports, installation sequence, and field conditions. Every assumption becomes financial risk. Your cost exposure? This is usually creates one of the two outcomes. Either the bid includes large variables, or the missing scope becomes a future change order. In both cases, the general contractor pays for uncertainty. And our implementation mechanism? Before pricing is finalized, we validate HVAC routing, equipment locations, ceiling coordinations, installation access, structural interfaces, major fee constraints. The objective is simple: replace assumptions with defined scope. Now I've gone inside because today it's really hot outside. So the problem too is design intent is not installation scope. Construction documents explain what the engineer wants to achieve. They rarely define everything required to build the system efficiently. There is still a gap between design intent and field execution. If nobody closes that gap before contract award, the project will close it during construction. And that's always more expensive. Your cost exposure is where RFIs multiply. Procurement decisions change. Fabrication revisions appear. Installation crews encounter conditions that nobody priced. And the project begins paying for decisions that should have been made before the subcontractor was signed. At H, before award, we convert the design into a buildable implementation package. We validate equipment selections, installation conditions, service clearances, coordination interfaces, constructability. Now subcontractors are pricing the work they will actually install, not the work they assume they will install. The problem number 3 is the budget risk is created before construction starts. Many people think change orders begin in the field. In reality, Most of them begin much earlier. They begin when unresolved HVAC decisions are accepted as a part of the contract. Construction simply exposes the missing information. Your cost exposure is once construction starts. Every unresolved issue becomes more expensive. Field labor replaces planning, schedule pressure replaces carefully coordination, and budget uncertainty disappears. The best time eliminate change orders is before they're possible. That's why we resolve implementation questions before procurement, fabrication, and contract award, not after installation begins. At H Design and Build, we work between construction documents and shop drawings. Our job is to transform HVAC design intent into a clearly defined buildable scope before contracts are awarded and fabrication begins. Because predictable projects don't start with lower bids. They start with fewer unknowns. Your key takeaway? General contractors don't lose money because HVAC is expensive. They lose money because they commit to HVAC scope before the scope is fully defined. The more uncertainty that exists at contract award, the more expensive certainty becomes during the construction. So, if you're pricing or preparing to award an HVAC package, take a look at our free HVAC risk check. It highlights the implementation gaps that often becomes RFIs, change orders, and budget surprises long before the first duct is installed.